Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome to Season Decider for Ozicar Formula 4 Series. It all happens here at Knockhill Reverse. Ozicar Formula 4 now finishing up its second season, every single round, every single race jam-packed with action, and I feel like that's what's in store for us now at the curtain closing of Season 2. So thanks for joining us for live coverage as we work out who is champion. David Haynes here with Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy producing. Jason, it's been an exciting little journey, but every story's got to end somewhere, and ours is going to end backwards around Knockhill.
Yeah, well, this is something that we've been talking about since the round number one all those weeks ago. It's been a bit of a talking point within the community here as well. A lot of drivers are pretty excited to get here tonight and try and unleash their talent around this circuit, which generally you don't see a lot of races happening here in reverse, but it's definitely a completely different beast to master in the opposite direction.
Do you want to hear my Scottish accent? No, you don't, so I'm not going to try, but what a unique little track Knockhill is in its forward direction. In reverse, something else entirely. A lot of elevation change around here, a lot of very aggressive curves, and correct, Railway Straight is actually a former railway line there that curved through this part of Scotland. Well, the rest of the track is a little bit tighter than that, and key overtaking opportunity, of course, looks to be in towards that turn one hairpin. Track drops away down from there, and it's a bit of a climb up in the final sector.
Yeah, change of direction is going to be pretty tricky. There's lots of blind corners here. So turn 3, Clark, you can see on your screen, is a blind corner for the drivers, as is the tricky chicane 4-5, and of course dust dip leading onto the main straight. Bit of a blind crest there as well. So you've really got to trust your driving capabilities, your track knowledge, and just tip it in and hope for the best.
So here's where they stand as we head into this final round of the championship. Ewan Baker has been an absolute force to reckon with. He stands on 485 points. There are many other drivers still in contention and in mathematical chance behind him. Thomas Hinz, his closest rival and the defending champion from Season 1. James Chastanoff and Braden Martin are gunning for the team's championship together, but they're also still in the mathematical contention there as well. This is that team's championship with Locked On Racing up front. From Full Send, Ozicar Red, White Knuckle Racing, Ozicar White, Locked On Racing, hashtag Livin'. Got Bandit Alliance, Scott KSR, Norfolk and Chance Racing, and Henry James Racing as the top 10. Let's look at the grid then for race 1. Ewan Baker on pole where he'd want to be to kick things off strong. Julian Kleinbusink is just behind him. The next row, Brody Shepherd and Thomas Hinz starting out of 4th for this first 15-minute race. Then the teammates James Chastanoff and Braden Martin, Brody Tressida and Luke Quist behind that. The field are revving, ready to go for this first race. 69er Tressida doesn't get away especially well, and cold tyres are such a challenge for these racing cars on the opening laps, but for Ewan Baker, he's gotten away from the standing start quite well. In towards the narrow turn 1, he holds on to that race lead. Simspeed in second, going along with him. Thomas Hinds looks to still be in 4th, though, as they start to pick up speed.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's made it through turn 1, showing a little bit of caution. Ewan Baker and Kleinsmith out in front as they make their way down through Clark for the first time. This is the first of the blind corners, so watch out for a few cars running wide out on the dirt, out through here, down through the corkscrew for the first time. Tyres are still not up to temperature, so a lot of commitment and a lot of trust as they make their way through. Only a 46, 47 second lap here, so they make their way up for the final corner to complete lap number 1 already. It looks like the top 2 have made a bit of a break and leaving Shepherd and Hinds sitting 3rd and 4th respectively.
2 kilometres of racetrack. It makes Winton look like the Nordschleife around here at Knockhill, but it absolutely represents a challenge, and the lockups from Brodie Shepherd in the 55 in 3rd place go to show that. Thomas Hinds still behind in 4th, looking to move forward, looking to keep his championship hopes alive, and of course looking to early on put as much pressure as possible onto Ewan Baker. But there were some dramas a little further back in the pack. I would suggest Peter Bowling, Brodie Tressida and others. Look at the viciousness of the curbs and the elevation change around here.
Yeah, you've got to take a lot of curb, and you've really got to commit to that corkscrew as you drop the ground. Elevation drops away from underneath you. Very easy to get a bad landing there. Just have a quick look at a replay here. This is Tressida having a big dive under brakes, and one of the white knuckle cars now facing the wrong way. So car 69, one of the cars in contention for the team's championship tonight, sitting 2nd. So not a good start for him. He's got some work to do tonight to try and redeem some points.
Sean Doyle won't be happy about that at all. He's teamed up in one of the white knuckle racing teams that we saw from the team's championship. He's trying to work his way back through the field. We'll touch on the racing to come at some point. Another drama here, though, with Darren Shannon, and it keeps going. We've got a car on its lid, and that won't right itself. Peter Wilkinson, it's off. Sean Doyle practicing his gymnastics.
Double, triple pirouette, and there is cars off. There's more cars off the track than there probably is on at the moment. Nathan Verney having issues there, looking like he's lost half of the rear end of his car facing the wrong way. So out in front, Ewan Baker, a bit of a gap at the moment, 1.5 seconds back to Kleinsmith. Brodie Shepherd's tucked underneath his rear wing, as is Thomas Hinds, James Chasanoff and Braden Martin will make up your top 6. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Jared Thomas sitting P7.
Aggressive across those curbs through the quick change of direction, and then trying to flow the speed in towards the left-hander. Absolutely critical that you carry as much speed as possible uphill and across start finish line. Take a look at where that all started for Darren Shannon. Yes, it's looped on him, slowed up one car. That's caused almost a track blockage, and it's that square wheel-to-wheel contact. And the roll hoop looks to dig into the gravel. Ugly incident for a couple of the drivers there. So Braden Martin, Darren Shannon and Nathan Verney have all been through the pit lane once. Sean Doyle might have opted to just park it in that one. With Baker controlling the lead of the race from Kleinsmith, Shepherd and Hinds. Not a lot of movement or passing at the front of the field here. Chassis holds 5th.
There is very limited passing opportunities. One of the main ones, if you get a good run down the straight, is here into turn number 1. But of course, it's not a very long straight, so it's almost relying on a mistake happening from the car in front if you're really going to have a chance. Your best bet, try and pressure them through some of those blind corners where they can potentially drop a wheel off and run a little bit wide. So we jump on board with Adrian Duke, who's shown great pace throughout the series here tonight, currently sitting P9. So tucked underneath one of the white knuckle cars, I think it is, in front as they make their way through Clark again, heading up for this tricky chicane as they drop down and the elevation falls away from underneath them. 100% commitment required as Dennis Hancock maybe just making a couple of attempts there on Duke.
Yeah, looks pretty good through that sector as we start to approach what could be halfway point of this race by the lap count, which I suspect we might actually get to slightly before the time. Keep an eye on that one. They're punching through the laps here with the fastest lap of the race, I think, belonging to Kleinbersink at the moment. No, Ewan Baker's got it 46.8, so just 46 seconds to get one of these F4 cars around the lap of Knockhill reverse. It is super, super quick stuff. Peter Bowling, though, is going reverse on the reverse layout, so forward and backwards.
Maybe he didn't quite get the memo when we said we're doing the circuit in reverse. So James Chastanoff, 42 on our screen at the moment, currently sitting P5. Looks like he has dropped his teammate who was behind him not that long ago in Braden Martin. So Chastanoff eyes forward. He is lashed onto the back of Thomas Hinds at the moment, just trying to get a little bit of a drag along to catch up to Brody Shepherd, sitting P3. Big puff of smoke, and that's someone off in the dirt.
Yeah, it's Julian Kleinbersink from second, so all of a sudden Thomas Hinds finds himself up in second place, ahead of Shepherd, ahead of Kleinbersink. 4 seconds between Baker at the lead and Hinds in second, but, well, it certainly keeps championship hopes alive for Hinds. Now he finds himself up in second place. Kleinbersink looks to have returned to the circuit in sixth.
He'll have some dirt on his tyres. It'll probably take him the best part of the lap to get those tyre temperatures back up and get himself with that confidence back in the car. But more importantly, he's back on track facing the right way. Luke Quist in the 111, the very distinctive Aussie car livery, and getting heaps of pressure from behind by one of the white knuckle drivers. Just have a quick look at the replay here. This is Ewan Baker needing his Red Bull livery, giving himself wings as he bounces his way down through the corkscrew.
Yeah, all four in the air. So aggressively tries to carry the speed through that section. It's been a little tough for Brody Shepherd the last couple of laps. So Hinds got through, and James Chastanoff's also been able to force his way through at what's turn one on the reverse layout at this section here. So it's going relatively well for Chasty as well. But things not going as hot for his teammate Braden Martin, who almost a lap down back in 12th place, fighting Roy Clark for 11th. Drama, more drama for Brody Shepherd as he spins it around and loses more positions.
Yeah, exactly the same spot. Very, very similar to incident what happened to Kleisbernick just a lap or so ago. And Brody Tressiter also off the track facing the wrong way. That's on the exit of turn number one too. So number one as well, I should say. Bad grammar. Another one off in the dirt. Peter Bowling facing the wrong way, just watching a heap of traffic having to go through. Hasn't got a lot of choice there, but sit back and just wait for an opportunity to turn these cars around. They are quite heavy in the steering, so you can't just quick flick spin them with the ease you can of some of the more powerful cars.
James Chastanoff is finding his stride now, putting the blowtorch to Thomas Hinds, who goes the long way around the railway straight, but that means he can defend his position into the next left-hander. This looks like the corner where things really get airy, if you will. Oh, goodness. So, such an aggressive crest in the road. They get airborne, they then hit the next curb and almost get airborne off of that as well.
Yeah, so we're finishing lap 11, ready to start lap 12 of this 18-lap sprint race tonight. First of two sprint races being brought to you here, Ozicar Formula 4 on Simspeed TV. Heavy in the braking zone as Hinds and Chastanoff still battle for the second, third spot on the podium. Ewan Baker still got that gap out to 6 seconds, so he has got no pressure. Doesn't need to do anything silly on track at the moment. He's just got to bring it home, but there's a little bit of traffic coming up. Black traffic Hinds may have to contend with.
He's in the gravel and he's got damage. He's maybe collided with one of those lap down cars. Ewan Baker, the championship leader, the race leader. How big is the damage on that car as Thomas Hinds goes through to the race lead? Chastanoff goes through in a second, and the suspension is cactus for Ewan Baker.
A quick replay will show us exactly what's happened here. Looks like the car 23, Peter Bowling maybe, just catching Ewan Baker out in the braking zone there. Very, very rough ride. Not quite as rough as what Sean Doyle experienced a little earlier on. John Snell it was, car number 23. You can see the damage on the back of his car as proof of the contact.
Ewan Baker looking to repair that car quick, smart, get back out there. Only a couple of laps left in this race. And that was a super quick, smart repair. He's back into the race. critically, I think he's going to aim to stay inside of the top 10. He's immediately cutting to the inside to defend from Tressida and Martin, who are right behind him. He wants to stay in that top 10 if he can. And that's because we have a top 10 invert from this race 1 into race 2, and then that sets the grid off of race 3. So at all times, you absolutely want to stay inside of that top 10. That's critical for him.
Yeah, Baker very aggressive there on the exit of pit lane. A little bit concerned he might have been almost pushing the limits there of a unsafe pit entry exit. So back up front, Thomas Hinds and James Chastanoff out in front. There is that little bit of lap traffic coming up again. Chastanoff just a couple of car lengths back from Hinds as he makes his way down through. And that is as rough a ride as you want to get. That's another car off in the dirt, P2.
Yeah, he'll get out of the car standing an inch or two shorter than he got in with that sort of ride across the curb, bottoming the car out, half spinning it around and really releasing some of the pressure off Thomas Hinds. And here comes Klein Bosink and Jared Thomas for third and fourth. 4 laps to go. Lincoln, you'll miss it because that's about 3 minutes. It's about the lap time these cars would do around Road America, maybe.
So every time I start talking about a driver, they will hit a curve and find themselves off the track. So I'm going to almost put the jinx on myself to stop talking. But we are on board at the moment with Braden Martin tucked underneath the rear wing of Brody Cressida. Deep under brakes into turn 1. Plenty of room given there on the outside, which is really good to see. Looks like they might be fighting for a position a bit further back, just outside the top 10.
Well, they're fighting over 10th, which, keep in mind, will be the pole position for the upcoming race. So, again, this is a situation we find ourselves commonly in Aussie car competition with these invert grids that are just partial reverse grids with your top 10 in this case, is that 10th place goes to pole position for the next race. 11th place will start in 11th. There is a big difference between being inside of the top 10 and being out of it, being just in that top 10 invert and getting nothing.
So we are on lap 16 of 18. We are in the final couple of minutes of race number 1 here tonight. Of course, we will be back for race number 2 and race number 3 tonight. Plenty of on-screen action, on-track action here tonight in the Formula 4s. Absolutely brilliant way to send off the season here at Knockhill in Scotland. We are seeing 9th, 10th and 11th on screen at the moment. Brady Martin putting heaps of pressure, throwing everything he can at Brody Tressida, trying to get that 10th position and that inversion for the front row start in race number 2.
This is very defensive from Tressida because that is not the racing line, but it is the inside line in towards turn number 1, and that's where we've seen the bulk majority of passing take place. Around the outside, though, very brave from Braden Martin. Adrian Duke is off the circuit, and I think these two are gonna catch him. He's a little further up the road. Braden Martin, great job, made that work, got into 10th place, and here is the car of Duke still getting up to speed just in front of them. We're on the final lap for the leader. These drivers about to come around and start that final lap.
So Thomas Hinds out in front here has got a big gap. You can't even see P2, which is James Chastanoff there in the background, maybe just making his way around through turn 1, while Thomas Hinds is in the final third sector of the lap already. It's a tick by all so quick.
Well, it's what he would have wanted from this race, starting out of 4th place, 2nd row on the grid. They all fell apart in front of him. Thomas Hinds takes the win in race number 1, claws back some points, keeps a championship battle alive to the final 2 races of the season. Chastanoff gets 2nd from Klein Bosink, and in that 10th place, Braden Martin is still looking to take another one away from Adrian Duke if he can on the final lap. Duke might be carrying just a tiny bit of damage. He carries some slightly overheated tyres, but he will carry that to the line in 9th. Braden Martin in 10th, start race 2 from the pole position with Adrian Duke alongside him. It will be a very interesting reverse top 10 race number 2. This is how they finished race number 1, though. Thomas Hinz getting the chocolates from James Chastanoff, Julian Kleinbusink, Jared Thomas, Brody Shepherd, Luke Quist, Dennis Hancock, Ewan Baker. They're back in 8th after colliding with lapped traffic, and Adrian Duke and Braden Martin are our top 10. Take that, invert it. That's your grid for the next race. And such a quick lap around here. Brody Tressiter in 11th was the last car on the lead lap. We had Roy Clark, Ira Felberg, Peter Wilkinson, Nathan Verney, Darren Shannon, Peter Bowling 1 lap down. Sean Doyle did resume in the race to finish 2 laps down. Same for John Snell. This is that top 10 invert for race number 2. Gives Ewan Baker a chance to fight back.
Yeah, Braden Martin sitting alongside Adrian Duke there off the front row. Ewan Baker and Dennis Hancock out of 2. Luke Quist doing a really good job there in the 111, starting P5 in the B main. Jared Thomas, Julian Kleisbernick there, 7-8. James Chastanoff, and our race 1 winner, Thomas Hinz, starting out of P10. So plenty of fast cars mixed all through the top 10.
They're all gridded up and they're ready to go. The pole sitter, Braden Martin, also has the inside into turn number 1. Ewan Baker has had a mega launch from that standing start, dropping the clutch to perfection, thinking about making the big move, 3rd to 1st down the inside. Tiny bit of contact behind them there as well. Martin off to a pretty tidy start. If he's going to win back-to-back races, Thomas Hinz is going to have to drive like a madman for these next 18 short laps. Tyres are super cold all through the field, and Dennis Hancock spears off, and he finds the tyres.
Yeah, that's that first of those blind corners we spoke about a little bit earlier, named Clark after Jim Clark. They're making a few drivers just get caught out under cold brakes and cold tyres. The race 1 winner on screen at the moment, he is currently sitting up in P9, so he's made 1 position on the opening lap. So at this rate, if he makes 1 position per lap, he'll find himself sort of at the front of the field by the midway point of the race. Ewan Baker, though, doing a pretty good job at the moment. He's just sitting comfortably in P2. We did speak about that intention to have a look under brakes into turn 1, but after the hiccup that he suffered in race number 1, probably thinking better of it, just playing it smart. He knows he's got the speed. He's just got to play it to his strengths and be there when an opportunity arises.
Brody Shepherd here for full send, sandwiched betwixt. Oh, well, he was sandwiched betwixt the ORT teammates, but that is off the road for Luke Quist, and the whole field is going to go past him as he got that curb and that jump, and it is a jump, wrong. So 2 laps completed, starting lap 3. Tyre temperature will be coming up. It is an unseasonally sunny Scottish day with the track temperature of 30 degrees Celsius. You can see the number 1 there of Thomas Hinz trying to work his way through. Here's what happened to the 111, as he's a little wide in the first part. Can't change the direction of the tyres in the air, and it loops around onto that very, very slippery grass. Braden Martin's still leading this one. Ewan Baker not through into the lead just yet, even though he's been undoubtedly one of the quickest drivers we have seen all season long at every single circuit. It's this middle part here of the field with positions 3 through to 10 all stuck together. Sean Doyle, though, is going to spin out, and he's going to catch a little bit of the tyres square on, hopefully not too much damage. This is where all the action is. Brody Shepherd there in 3rd, and the cars behind, like Thomas, Duke, Chastanoff, Kleinbusink, then Hinz and Tressiter. Different line from turn number 1 as well, with the way it drops away so much at that sharp apex.
Yeah, I have noticed a couple of few drivers dropping back into first just to try and get the car to turn in, and you really, really can ride and take advantage of the cutting the inside of that turn number 1. But the all-important part is getting the power down nice and smooth as they make their way down the old railway straight. Adrian Duke there, only using half his rubber, making his way down through the chicane there on 2 wheels, so losing a heap of positions, but still sitting inside the top 10. He's down 7 positions from where he started the race 4 laps ago.
It's bugging me. There's another corner somewhere else where drivers very commonly stay about a car width away from the center of the corner because it's got that big elevation change, and it will get to me eventually. 72 of Ira Felberg dropping back a couple of positions. With Duke going wide, losing speed, Thomas Hinz now up into 7th, and you can see still right behind Kleinbusink and Chastanov, but 5 seconds away from the lead of the race, 4.5 seconds away from Ewan Baker in second. Running out of time to fight through. Someone slow tracking out in the final corner, and the field nearly catch him. And, well, that's a funny meeting you here kind of moment as the two cars off the circuit collide. Hinz down the inside of Kleinbusink in towards turn number 1. Not really able to make that one work or carry any speed or drive off the corner well.
Yeah, Thomas Hinz definitely getting the attention of Julian Kleisbernick in front, but didn't quite get that drive off like you suggested. Fourth corner through here, you've really got to hug that curb nice and smooth. It's important you get a good drive out across this little back straight, and then it's full send down through the chicane, the flip-flop there. You can see Thomas Hinz just getting a little bit shaky, but there is plenty of forgiving movement in these cars, and they do bounce relatively well from what I've found out in practice. Back onto the main straight to complete another lap. Drivers using some of that pit entry there on the exit of the final corner to get maximum run down the straight, ready into turn 1.
It really is the Sandown of Scotland.
We're still on board with Thomas Hinz. He is hooked onto the back of Kleisbernick, but he also has the attention of Brody Trester tucked in behind him. So it's a little bit of a draft train here at the moment, led by James Chastanoff in that locked on.
Baker to the lead of the race because Braden Martin has gone off. Brody Shepherd's gone through. Now Jared Thomas looks to take that as Martin goes off again. Thomas Hinz even goes through now up into 6th. It's fallen apart for Braden Martin, running so well in the lead of the race, now dropping back to 8th, and I suspect there might still be suspension damage on that thing the way he's going, which is into pit entry. So where does it all start? He gets out wide, he has a wiggle, and he does have a big hit with the wall out there that's clearly throwing the suspension askew.
Yeah, at the time, Braden Martin was our fastest lap setter, still is, as you can tell by the little purple indication next to his name on the ladder on your left-hand side of your screen. But as he come back on track, I think he just found himself a little bit offline, dirty tyres, and unable to make that apex. Of course, he took it wide, and everybody just managed to go through on track in the process. So it was fun while it lasted, but Braden Martin finding himself back outside the top 10 again. So Julian Kleisbernick sitting in P5 at the moment. He's got a good run on, looks like, Chastanoff in front. So looking to have a big dive under brakes. Very, very committed in here. Chastanoff gives him a little bit of room, but it's all about the drive on the exit. Chastanoff out in the dirt. That lets Thomas Hinz through as well. So Chastity going backwards at a great rate of knots. That's 2 positions lost in one corner.
Maybe another one. There's no drive in the gravel. He's around the outside here of Tressida, who eventually has to give it up. But Ewan Baker, the lead of the race, he ends up in 5th. Kleinbusink, oh, they're all going to gain one, because off the road is Jared Thomas, who is holding on to a 3rd place. Such a challenging circuit. We're seeing drivers coming to the pressure as they have to be on exactly the right line, going over the jump and riding the curbs just right, because if they're a millimetre off, it is absolutely biting them.
Yeah, so we are on lap 10. We're past the halfway point again here in race number 2. So we are absolutely ticking by. We have our producer on hand with the amount of action on screen at the moment. He must be like one of those Hindu gods with all those arms pressing buttons, just trying to keep up with everything to bring you all the action here around Knockhill tonight.
We've got a biblically accurate Simspeed producer with 50 eyes and 50 wings. Tight at turn 1 there between Roy Clark and Luke Quist. We ride on board with the 14th place Roy Clark. They are 3 wide briefly on the pit straight as Hinz and Kleinbusink pass some lapped traffic. And then bang wheels in towards turn number 1. That's where it's all happening. But no damage, it appears. Shaping up on a little bit more lap traffic that they're not going to have to go 3 wide on once again. Thomas Hinz now up into 3rd place. A couple more seconds before he could catch another driver. He needs every single point he can get with the lead that Ewan Baker had championship-wise going into this one. Clawed some back in race number 1, but that reverse grid just keeping Ewan Baker's flame alive as he started third on the grid for this one, has gone through into the lead of the race. There are 7 laps left to go. Baker, Shepherd, Hinz, Kleinbusink, Tressida, the top 5. I see Tressida having to get past, and which car is that? That's
Peter Wilkinson. Yeah, missing the front wing, so he's going to have a little bit of an aero disadvantage as he tries to make his way back to the pits to get that repaired with 7 to go. But Chasanoff on screen at the moment, he is tucked underneath the back of rear wing of Brody Tressida. Full send by name, full send by nature. So far, up 6 spots in race number 2. Making his way down through the flip-flop chicane. Then it's their third gear left-hander before they make their way back up the climb through the hill into the dip, making it another lap complete, using that excess road on the pit entry there before pulling back onto the track.
Nathan Verney in 11, hot on the heels of Adrian Duke in 10th. It's gone back through though. We know Duke was up front with a lot of pace before his mistake dropped him outside of the top 10. Now it's Shu on the other foot. That could have ended really, really badly side by side through that corner there, but both drivers know what's at stake, and they know it's progressive grid from this race through into the final race of the evening as well. So every position you gain now is also a better starting position in the next race. But of course, a DNF in this race is then very, very painful as you start towards the rear for another short 18 lap race number 3. It is 18 laps, isn't it?
Yeah, 18 laps here tonight for both races 1, 2 and 3. More importantly, we've got 5 laps to go here in race number 2, and we probably should start thinking about those drivers just inside the top 10 again, because they will make up our front row for race number 3, our feature race here tonight. And Braden Martin, after leading the race early, dropping back to 12th, he has snuck his way back into P number 9 again. So if he keeps this up, I don't want to put the jinx on him, but if he keeps this up, he may find himself with another front row start for the second time tonight. We'll find out in 4.5 short laps time. Don't tell me that's Braden Martin.
It's another little heart-in-mouth moment, though, for Ewan Baker, as there was a collision, I think, between Roy Clark and Darren Shannon. One of them was on the circuit, spun out right as Ewan Baker arrived, and that's not what he needs right now. He's measuring this one perfectly. He's showing that pace and performance that he's had. It's typically been matched by a bit of consistency this season as well. That's why he's the points leader with 485 coming into this round of what I think was a maximum 500. Something like that. He's been very, very good at farming the points to this point. It's tough for Hinz at the moment, as he's got a little bit of lapsed traffic there, and Kleinbusink hot on his heels, getting a better run up the hill through that sector, forcing Hinz to defend with 3 laps to go in towards turn 1.
Yeah, we have seen the move be successful on the outside here at turn number 1, but in this case, Julian Kleisman looking for the switchback, a change of direction, doesn't get the job done, so Hinz can take a little bit of a deep breath as he gets a good run down the railway straight for another time. Into Clark again. This is that fourth gear blind corner as they make their way across the back of the straight. Full commitment as they make their way down through the little jump. They're still sitting on track. It is Hinz, Kleisman, and in the background, Tressida and Chasanoff having a good little battle as well. Another car off track making their way back on. This could be interesting.
Could be Darren Shannon there, could it?
Roy Clark, I think, in that colour.
Okay. Teammate to him. Roy Clark. 2 laps to go in this one. Points paid, and then setting the grid. The final race. It's going to be the championship decider. It will come down to the wire in the final race of the final round for this season of Ozicar F4. Where will Hinz finish to try to keep his slim but possible championship hopes alive? Needing to be, I guess, relatively cautious to not throw it all away, but also doesn't want to give up that 3rd place. Starting the final lap now with just 2 kilometers to go. Ewan Baker putting his round back on the rails in race 2.
So all the action at the moment on track is for the final spot on the podium between Hinz and Kleismanik. So Ewan Baker with a 6-second lead out in front. Brody Shepherd with another 2.5 seconds. Back to the little battle on screen at the moment. Jordan Kleismanik is quickly running out of track time opportunity and corners to try and make a move stick here. But Thomas Hinz holding a very, very tight, committed line. Just try and make his way down through here nice and clean. Get a good land as the car hits the ground real heavy.
Chasnove's been off the road, but Baker strikes back, and I think he knows he needed that. He's very, very pleased with it. Brody Shepherd gets a good P2, and Hinz will hold on for that third. Martin's off. Chastanov's off. Peter Wilkinson's been through the pit lane twice. Tough race 2.
Looks like Chasty might be stuck in the fence.
Lads. He's revving it in reverse. He can't get out, and he's dropping positions as we go. But because of the very short lap, handful of the field were off the lead lap. You only need to be about 45 seconds behind the leader to be off that lead lap, because Chastity's crashed from the lead lap on the final lap. I don't think he can drop further than 10th.
I think Nathan Verney was the last car off the lead lap. I reckon he might get him and put Chastanov just outside the top 10 for the inversion. So anyway, we'll have a look very shortly, but race winner here in race number 2 tonight, Ewan Baker taking the win convincingly after a really good start. Brody Shepherd, Thomas Hinz, Julian Kleismanik making up second through to 4th. Brody Tressiter, Jared Thomas, Darren Shannon there, 5, 6, 7 with Adrian Duke, Braden Martin, and the results are showing James Chastanoff in P10.
Yeah, and showing he's 14 seconds behind the leader the last time he crossed the start-finish line, and he didn't take the checkered flag, but he still started more laps than everyone else. It gets a little confusing, but he does hold on to that 10th place by virtue of how many other drivers were a lap down. I think Verney, Luke Quist, Roy Clark, John Snell, Dennis Hancock, and then 2 for Felberg and Wilkinson for Bowling. And I think Sean Doyle will be finding something else to do. Unfortunately, Knockhill has not been kind to him. We've got a couple minutes here, and then the final race, the championship decider. Pressure on some of the drivers. It looks like it will be a showdown between our 2 championship hopefuls, Thomas Hinz and Ewan Baker. Thanks for the support all season long of Locked On iRacing podcasts, sim racing leagues, and prestige trophy badge and engraving to add just a little bit of sparkle to this championship, and of course all in support of the No Social Hate campaign. We'll take a little break here on Simspeed TV, but you are going to want to stick around for the championship deciding final race of Aussie Car Formula 4.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
Final race, and it all comes down to this for the championship in Ozicar Formula 4. Starting grid for the final race, and Ewan Baker still has the points lead. He has the pole position. He's got Thomas Hinz starting behind him, directly in line. Brody Shepherd to his right for the standing start, the final 18-lap race, and then Julian Kleinbesink, Brody Tressiter, and Jared Thomas are the top six. Then Darren Shannon starting out of 7th, and Adrian Duke, Braden Martin, Nathan Verney, the top 10 there. James Chassenove, Luke Quist, Roy Clark, John Snell, Dennis Hancock, Ira Felberg, Peter Wilkinson, Peter Bowling, and Sean Doyle. And a green flag for the final race. Ewan Baker converting well. Almost any finish inside of the top 10, almost any finish would keep Ewan Baker in this one. That's got to be his goal. Hinz starting out third, still running third as we get underway. They keep trying to build tyre temperature and settle into their rhythm for this final round.
Yeah, 18 quick laps around here. This is only going to take about 12 or 13 minutes, and we will have ourselves a new Formula 4 championship crowned here on the Ozicar Simspeed broadcast. But at the moment, Ewan Baker doing everything he needs to do, with Brody Shepherd sitting in P2, making their way down through that chicane for the first time. Thomas Hinz, Julian Kleisberg, Jared Thomas make up your top 5. But at the moment, it's single file as they make their way back up the hill to complete lap number 1.
Anything could yet still happen around this short, challenging lap where they get all 4 tyres in the air and launch the jump, and it's not been a great start for Darren Shannon. Has he got damage or a black flag for jumping the start? Is it a stop and go for that, or it would have maybe been a drive-through? But regardless, that's very, very challenging for Darren Shannon, who's not got a good closeout to this championship. Baker walking away with the lead from Shepherd, Hinz, and Kleinbesink at the moment. Hinz still looking like he wants to take that second and take the fight all the way to the end.
This could be interesting, because if that's a 40-second stop and hold for Darren Shannon, he could come out of the pit lane. Look like he might still be sitting there just as the leaders come around to complete lap number 2. So after 3 laps, he puts himself a lap down. This is Kleisberg having a big look. Sorry, it is Thomas Hinz having a big look on Julian Kleisberg into turn number 1. Gets the job done. Brody Shepherd, in car number 55. So change of second and third there on track. Looks like everybody else in the background, single file, sorting themselves out at the moment, sitting pretty comfortably around the circuit. But Thomas Hinz, he has his job done up into P2, and he's got his eyes forward, trying to chase down race leader Ewan Baker.
Yeah, absolutely. First and second in the championship, first and second on the road, and laps ticking down in the final race. We're right on board with Luke Quist in 11th. He's right in the heat of the battle here, and you see in front of him Chastanoff, Duke, and Verney. Chastanoff, of course, ending it in the barrier last time around, looking to race his way back up through the field. Verney losing spot to Adrian Duke there, so his teammate of Chastity then also look to do something similar. I think he has.
Yeah, Chastity making that full commitment into the inside of turn number 1 there, getting the job done on his teammate, who was quite happy to tuck in underneath his rear wing. So Chastity's next target on track, Adrian Duke, no mean feat, because Adrian has shown plenty of car speed and on-track speed throughout the course of the season. But this is car number 77 trying to get back up onto the podium spot. There's contact made, and he's off in the dirt.
Tangled together as well, both of them with big damage on the outside of turn number 1. Jared Thomas, Braden Martin go through, but leaving some bits on the road. Kleinbersink leaving some bits on the road, made such an aggressive move to the inside of turn 1, locked it up a little bit, pushed wide, and they made wheel-to-wheel contact. Kleinbersink's missing the rear wing right now, and there's got to be more damage other than that. Adrian Duke goes and passes him. There's no way that that's a stable car for Kleinbersink. It doesn't look right. It can't drive right, surely. It's getting mugged now by the middle pack, and it's Chastanoff. Quist going through. Here's another look at it.
Simspeed replay, looks like the 77 big dive under brakes, and initially I thought the 55 might have been trying to do a switchback. It just looks like he might have squeezed and pinched Nick there on the apex of the corner, the two of them coming together. And you can see bits of bodywork just reappearing and falling off the car in succession. So not exactly how they would have planned things to fall out as that move was put into place, but anyway, they're back on track now. This is on board with Brodie Tressida, and he has the locked-on car of Braden Martin tucked up in 4th and 5th on screen at the moment. So
I think Martin's gotten him recently. We've got a couple of big movers so far in this race. Martin, one of them, started 9th. He's now up into 4th. Sean Doyle, of course, started from dead last, and he's into the top 10 now. So, of course, that's plus 9 positions in this 19-car field. And take a look at Nathan Verney losing the rear and avoiding him. The 21 also loses it. So Roy Clark didn't make any contact, shouldn't have made any damage, but not what you want to do. Sideways out there, losing time, losing positions.
Yeah, it looked like one of those cars thread the needle between the two that were sitting across the track there. Some pretty good awareness from some of the drivers out there on track. But the car on screen at the moment, car number 74, has had a pretty horrendous night by his own standards. But so far in race number 3, when it counts the feature race, looks like he's trying to redeem himself at the moment. He has his teammate in front of him in the form of Dennis Hancock, sitting 9th and 10th. So a good result for those guys. This is car 21 facing the wrong way again. Roy Clark, all the way from Riverview in New South Wales. They're doing a little bit of off-track exploration, turning his Formula 4x4 out there in the dirt, kicking up some dust.
Indeed, dramatic scenes every time they launch across that chicane. Braden Martin in 4th, closing in on Jared Thomas in 3rd. That Riverview is west of Penrith. I've just Googled.
Yep. So anyway, back on screen at the moment, car number
Probably
81.
a Panthers fan.
Car number 81 out on track. He looks like he's under a little bit of pressure from Braden Martin, Jared Thomas, that he's in P3, so doing everything he can to try and hold on to that final spot on the podium as we look back underneath the rear wing of his car. He's doing a pretty good job at the moment, but he has got a big gap in front of him to Thomas Hinds. So this is the on-track battle at the moment. We are focusing on 3rd, 4th and 5th on screen. Make their way down through the chicane. Change of direction as the cars ride those curves ever so delicately.
It's the aim, and they try in this battle for 3rd. It's not always delicate and dignified in that part of the track. Seen that be a significant source of mistakes. Martin closing in, looking to go that wider line, cut back, get the throttle open early. Jared Thomas, but needs to be careful what he does with Tressler behind. So we're looking at the final corner, if you don't mind, lighting him up for Jared Thomas as the car, of course, gets pretty light over that crest, and there is a lot of that elevation change around here. Given there's only 2 kilometers around, it feels like it's 2 kilometers up and down sometimes as well. More drama in that section of the track for Darren Shannon.
Is that Ewan Baker at the pits?
Thomas Hinds goes through to the lead of the race. Ewan Baker into the pit lane from the lead. How has he managed to do that? Don't see any flags. It's a longer one. Baker, 6 seconds. So now Hinds leads. Ewan Baker is 8th, maybe back into 10th. Here's what happens. Big whack over the curb. Oh. And that's caused damage for Baker as he was leading. Not far at all. Only a couple hundred meters from the pit entry there. Baker rejoins in 10th. Hinds leads. It gets interesting here. I don't think Hinds has got enough there to take the championship if Baker doesn't DNF in this final race. We saw, decent points gained as well in races 1 and 2, with that win in race number 2 made it very, very difficult for Hinds to manufacture enough in the points to close that gap enough.
Big dive under brakes for Ewan Baker. He's back out on track trying to make hay while the sun shines. He would have got a fresh car, fresh set of tyres, and he's back out on track now. Looks like one of the locked-on cars in the background, but Ewan Baker not quite able to get the move done. Sean Doyle doing it everything he can, defending like a lion. Baker's got to be pretty careful here not to make any more car contact. I don't think he has any more fast repairs available. He's just got to bide his time, but he has got the car of Brody Shepherd, who is no sleeper amongst these drivers here tonight. He's got plenty of speed, so Baker's trying to push forward, but at the same time trying to defend pretty hard from the cars behind.
Another one of those big snaps of oversteer in the final corner, but Brody Tressida from one of the podium positions is off, damaged. Ewan Baker looking to make more of those positions and does manage to make the move work this time, but Sean Doyle not going out quietly in this final race of the season. Close enough to attack into the next left-hander, so it's Hinds that leads. Martin in second. As far as the team's championship goes between Locked On and Full Send, that crash for Cressida just now certainly makes things look a lot better for Locked On, who currently run 2nd and 3rd.
So Brad Martin, car 09, he is 2nd on track at the moment. He's 4.5 seconds away from our race leader, with his teammate sitting another 5 seconds further back. So you can just see in the background making his way around turn number 3. But we'll have a look at a Simspeed replay here. This is into turn number 1. Jared Thomas running wide and just catching one of the cars out there in the background, losing his rear wing and a bit of body work and debris in the process. So we are down with 5 laps to go. That's going to make the car an absolute handful for the last 5 laps of this season here tonight.
It's not home and hosed yet for Ewan Baker as he is sandwiched amongst all of the action.
Ooh.
That is the action.
Osbanick.
It is Klein Basink and Brody Shepherd. They both loop around in the final corner. Baker now looking to pass Dennis Hancock. Baker can't afford a misstep here because he can't afford a DNF. Not with Thomas Hinds leading the way, but Baker trying to keep his destiny in his own hands. He's had to pass a couple of cars, now up into 7th place. Just a couple of laps to go. Hin's out front doing all he can, but all he can at this stage of the championship, not looking like it's going to prove enough.
Sean Doyle on screen, still tucked in beneath the rear wing of his teammate Dennis Hancock in the 8.22. 3 laps to go. That's Julian Klosmanik off again, so he has had a horror couple of laps, lap and a half actually, and spent more time on the green stuff than he has on the black stuff. But Ewan Baker found himself underneath the rear wing of the Aussie car duo, I think it is here, in Thomas and Quist just in front of him.
Looking to put a position on Jared Thomas, the 81. They've got a lapped car there that they're both going to get past. Bowling says, I'm not getting involved in that. Absolutely fair. So Baker looking to get a good run up the hill here. I suspect he might set him up into the best overtaking opportunity towards turn number 1. Talking about that off camber. Crest with a curb is not easy. Baker makes it look like it is as he gets all the way up the inside to break in towards turn number 1, takes that tight line, and then tries to use a little bit of the drop to power him up into 6th place where he resides currently. He's coming around the end of the lap to take the white flag. More dramas for Shannon and Kleinbesink, is it? But there's 2 kilometers of racing left in Aussie car Formula 4 for Thomas Hinz, defending champion, to go out with all he can, because it looks like there might be a new Baker in town.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a replay here. This is Klosmanik on screen, off into the dirt. Almost missing the entry. He's taking the pit lane entry in there. I don't think he was able to get back on track on time. So final lap, Thomas Hinz in the final sector of the race. He's done everything he needed to try and keep the championship alive. We'll find out very shortly whether it was enough, Dave.
Yep, fought to the race win in race 1. Stood on the podium in race 2. Fought to the race win again in race number 2. But the championship lead that Ewan Baker brought into this might just be enough. He returned serve in race number 2, taking the win there to try to protect his championship lead. He currently sits 6th. Ewan Baker will cross the line in 6th. By all understandings, that is enough to make him the Season 2 champion and wrestle a crown away. Ewan Baker's first Aussie car championship.
So Thomas Hinz on screen celebrating in the best way he knows how, setting up smoke signals there, and Ewan Baker joining him as well. Looks like Thomas Hinz has lost a heap of bodywork there from one of the cars coming through, which you can imagine it was probably pretty difficult for him to see amongst all that smoke. But a championship leader there doing donuts, which is probably the most best thing you can do with the surname of Baker, and doing donuts on track. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't burn out his pastries, but certainly well-deserved celebrations. The early races, early rounds of this championship, he just was absolutely untouchable. Metronomic, even. I see Peter Wilkinson try to follow the rallycross layout out there. So, mock-up day at the end of the championship for Ozicar F4, and victors celebrating as they see fit. Hinz, really strong race 3 there, but just a little too late as far as the championship goes. Braden Martin, James Chasnoff, very strong finish for Locked On there. Then Duke, Quist, Baker, Jared Thomas, Sean Doyle racing up through the field in the final race. Dennis Hancock and Brody Shepherd were the top 10.
Yeah, turning over the page, sitting P11 on the final feature race tonight, Nathan Verney, followed by Brody Tressiter after a little bit of trouble throughout the course of the night. Ira Felberg, we didn't speak about him too much tonight, but P13 finishing the first car off the lead lap. Then it was Darren Shannon, Peter Wilkinson, John Snell, Peter Bowling and Roy the Roadblock Clark sitting in P18. Julian Kleisbernick there, I think he parked it with a couple of laps to go. We saw him dive into pit lane, and of course he was the final car on track tonight. So not the season-ending finale he would have hoped for, but he can hold his head high because he had plenty of highlight opportunities and moments over the course of the season. It's just been...
Well, there's only one man worth talking to right now, and that is championship winner Ewan Baker joins us, and we offer our congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, it was a rough night, honestly. The nerves coming in were pretty intense because, you know, knowing Knockhill, I knew this sort of stuff was going to be quite likely. So sort of hectic chaos at every corner. And yeah, man, did not have good luck tonight, I tell you.
Now, a couple trips through the pit lane for repairs in race 1 and race 3, refusing to give up, making sure that you didn't bleed away too many points to just defend that lead coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew I had to at least finish as well as I could. Goal was top 5s every race. That was a little bit thrown out the window, but fortunately with the reverse grid, race 2 put me towards the front and I was able to at least get the win there. But yeah, Hensley's just been so fast. He proved it again tonight, taking 2 wins, I think it was. And yeah, just the second half of the season, he's been a force to be reckoned with.
So have you cleared off space on the shelf, already decided where a prestige trophy would look good?
Oh, I've got a cabinet that might look good on. I'll clear a space, take some measurements, see how it looks. Yeah, it's just absolute wave of relief more than anything. I think it'll take a little bit to fully sink in, but yeah, fantastic.
And aside from those numerous and smoky burnouts we saw, how else are you going to see fit to celebrate an Aussie car championship?
I mean, I'd say crack the drinks out. Yeah, crack the drinks out. I think that's broadcastable, but it is a Monday night. I do have work in the morning, so I should probably go easy, save that for the weekend. Yeah, I'm running another Formula 4 series with KSR currently, so I might chuck on a gold fern down the side just to, show off my accomplishments. I'm sure the other guys would love that.
Well, a season well run, a deserving championship, and again, we offer our congratulations to you, your first Aussie car championship.
Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. I've absolutely loved this series. Racing's been intense. The speed of everyone has been intense, and yeah, it made me work for every corner. And it's certainly a championship that, looking back, I could be definitely proud of because they don't hand these things out. There's some fast guys here fighting for it.
Well done.
Cheers.
The championship winner there, Ewan Baker, and of course here at Knockhill, which is effectively what could be his home track as well. So absolutely stellar performance there tonight. He adds his name to the Aussie Car Championship winners over the course of the season. We've had Cam Dance, we've had the man on screen, Thomas Hinz, of course James Chastanoff running there tonight as well, just to name a couple of the champions of past few years. Speaking of Thomas Hinz, we have him in the commentary box. Absolutely stellar performance tonight, Thomas. You threw everything you needed to tonight to keep this interesting for us right down to the checkered flag in race 3.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it went really well. I was a bit worried in practice. My post didn't seem that great, and I was like, this could be a little bit interesting, but pulled together for quality okay, which is good. And then, it was a lot of luck, really. I think I did I sort of was pushing obviously hard and made the moves where I needed to, but a lot of luck as well. Ewan was just getting all the bad luck with getting caught in other people's instance, so that sort of helped me out, obviously, to get points back on. He's still obviously caught it, and I think we'll look when it's done, but I think even without the penalty I got at Donington, I think he might have still just picked me anyway. I'll have to double check, but yeah, he was just so fast this season, just always at the front every time, even if things didn't go right. So it's just happy I brought it back for second, to be honest. But as soon as after Snows, and that was the goal, really, just to try and get back to second and get that if I could. So for me, it's mission accomplished, and to get back as close as I did to him in the end, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, we did that tonight by starting off P4 in race number 1, taking that through to a race win, and then of course it was a good drive after that inversion in the B main, where you started 10th and fought back up to another podium of course, finishing in 3rd. And then the final race, we just watched another 3rd to 1st performance. You were talking about there a bit of good luck falling your way. Some say you tend to create your own luck, and tonight you just proved that a cool, steady head and just banking those laps one after another and keeping the car not necessarily off the curbs, but just driving within your limits and your capabilities. And tonight you can walk away with 2 race wins.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, being this track, I figured there was going to be, even with the small field, or smaller field, it was still going to be, dramas with it being so easy to spin. I mean, we were just discussing then in the waiting room. I feel like, Knockhill's a pretty hard track in general because it's so tight and so much elevation change. But I feel like the reverse is even harder again. It's just, everything's sort of amplified. The hairpin's harder because it's downhill, and all these other bits are hard. The chicane's harder because it's downhill on the exit, and it's even that the last couple of corners, it's really quite skaky on the limit going through there flat. So it was very easy to make mistakes. So I was surprised there was a lot of spins and stuff. So I figured if I just sort of kept it clean, tried to play it smart, made the moves where I needed to, but just try to keep it clean, that was going to help out. And good to get 2 wins for the last round and finish on such a positive note. It's a very good thing for sure.
Absolutely stellar performance, not just tonight, mate, but of course across the course of the whole season. So you will lose that number 1 sticker on the front of the car, but you still managed to hold your head high because you've put on an absolutely stellar performance over the last few weeks. I'll let you throw over for the final time of this season to thank your sponsors and your teammates and your supporters.
Thanks, man. Big thanks obviously to Henry for the paint. We just won for last year, but I feel like I'll run that one in the time really with the F4 because it's just so good looking. So big thanks to Henry obviously for the gorgeous delivery and all the support from all the guys at HGR. And big thanks to June Shifters obviously and all the sponsors like Car Show 52 and all the sponsors there. Big thanks obviously to Iries, runs great stuff here at Ozicar. It's always great fun racing here, and it's always very hard fought but clean racing, and always have a good time here. So big thanks to Ira for all the work he does, and just I think Nathan with the points and everyone else involved there. Big thanks to you guys for broadcasting it and putting on a great show for us.
All right, mate. We'll let you go, but go away, celebrate those 2 race wins tonight. Hold your head high. Of course, you'll be back for the Formula FF 1600s again next week for round number 2. We'll look forward and we'll probably talk to you then.
Thanks, man. See you.
Dave, I think you've been for a bit of a walk. You found another one of our podium getters tonight. I'll throw over to you and you can have a bit of a chat to, I think it is James Chastanoff.
Well, I think I'm gonna grab our team's champions. So they're both here now. Congratulations, Ozicar F4 Season 2 team champions locked on.
Cheers, Dave. Cheers, Braden, as well.
Guys, did your best efforts to not win that tonight, but Knockhill Reverse, boy, does it look a tricky track. 47-second laps, of which 46 you've got your wheels on the ground.
Yeah, it was very, very tricky, especially when the only practice I decided to do was early last week, and I did the normal circuit. So turning up tonight and realizing we're going the other direction was not ideal. But I think, we'd managed to build a pretty good lead, and it would basically have taken us not to turn up to, not take home the team's championship tonight. So it was good.
And how do those biscuits taste?
We've started to get a few of them now, and we were just talking down in the awaiting interviews box just before, and we turned up last week for the Formula Fords, and all of a sudden we're leading the team's championship for that one as well. So it's it's all right. It's just about being consistent in these championships, and although we had a couple of bad rounds here and there, everyone else seemed to have a bad round here or there as well. So
yeah, plus the front guy's not teaming up either, so that seems to give us a bit of a helping hand.
Yeah.
Big fight forward in that final race for the both of you, starting 9th and 11th and finishing on the podium with Hinsey there.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Braden had an absolute storming start and then got the awesome run around the outside at turn 1, but I kind of got checked up a bit, so I was going to wait for later opportunity. So my battle was just to keep calm and hope that things happened in front. Well, Braden just stormed on and just drove his way up to second. So yeah, it was pretty interesting way to do it. But yeah, getting a little bit fortunate in the third race after the second race was pretty good.
It was sort of one of those nights where if you kept it on the track, there was going to be at least 3 or 4 positions that you'd make up just from people going off. Mainly me in the first 2, but some others as well. So,
where do you keep the Peter Wilkinson voodoo doll? Because I think he might have absorbed the bad luck tonight.
Yeah, P-Dog seems to take a fair amount of pins there, doesn't he? I don't know. I guess he's got a pretty fierce rivalry going on with Roy Clark, and Roy Clark seems to be in a lot of his own battles. So I don't know. Maybe the competition's sort of rubbing off on him a little bit, or maybe that's just the style of battling they want to contest with.
we'd also appreciate if you referred to Wilco as P-Dog from now on.
Correct.
I'll consider it, and you can consider it under consideration. Well, you guys are a absolute evergreen force in everything in Aussie car competition. What would you say keeps bringing you back? Because we know we're going to see you next Monday night and going forward in the Formula Ford as well.
Yeah, I was just saying to Ira, every time I think, oh yeah, this will be the last season, for a little bit, I'll take a bit of a break. And a new car comes out or a new calendar comes out, and I'm just like, all right, here's another $20. Let's go again. I can't really seem to stop myself from racing it. And I guess the cohort as well, although we've had a fair amount of driver changes through the last few seasons, everyone seems to race really well, and it's just one of those series where you can just sort of jump in, not take it too seriously, and yeah, just have a bit of fun racing other people. Everyone here's really good. They've got really good attitudes, and yeah, it's just really fun racing, and it's pretty much the big draw for it. So credit to Ira for setting it all up.
All right, congratulations. Who do you want to thank, and then get out of here?
You go, Brad.
Yeah, just thank all the Locked On boys. Thanks to Nathan. I know he doesn't probably get a lot of love for doing all the spreadsheets behind the scenes for Ira. So thanks to him, and yeah, the guys at Bar who've always make the racing enjoyable as well. So if you want to go back and listen to some interesting podcasts, there's some good interviews with the likes of Jay Kennedy and David Haynes somewhere in the archives. You can check out the Locked On iRacing podcast. We might be back one day, no promises.
Yeah, cheers, and thanks to you guys as well, and Jay for running the broadcast too. It's yeah, definitely makes it adds a little bit of flavour to the racing when you know there's people watching and you've got a good professional broadcast to watch back later.
And there they go. Great to speak to our team's champions. Jason, there's one last person we got to speak to, and it's the man who makes it all happen.
Yeah, of course, the brains behind the Aussie Car Child, that is the production we come to view every fortnight. Ira Felberg, welcome to the commentary box. That's another successful season wrapped up in the Aussie Car history books. Of course, we do have another one still ticking over in the background, but Formula 4 has proven to be a fan favourite for drivers. The track selection this season was absolutely on point, and I really can't think of a better way to round out the season than reverse here at Knockhill.
I know, man. It was pretty crazy, eh? That was hectic out there, but what a crazy little track. It's one of those tracks like every corner your heart's in your mouth, and yeah, I was thinking that halfway around, I was thinking that was a fitting way to send it out. But yeah, the F4s have been a really good little car, and they're not parked up forever, but yeah, we're doing the Formula Ford for now, so they'll be back at some stage for sure. They're too good to kind of park up, and they definitely offer something different and quite a challenge and all that. So yeah, but it's been a great season, and yeah, I'll be real quick, but I just wanted to thank you guys obviously for making us look good, and Jay behind the scenes, you and David, and the only person I forgot last time was Nathan. I just wanted to shout out Nathan Verney because he does all the scoring, a lot of spreadsheets and work behind the scenes, and he keeps all that ticking over. So yeah, just wanted to make sure I thanked him.
Yeah, well, of course, 6 rounds over the course of the last few weeks, and there has been some absolutely stellar moments and standout performances from a number of drivers. Of course, we have crowned ourselves a new champion here tonight for the first time with Formula 4s for Ewan Baker taking home some silverware. So it's the talent and the quality of the drivers out there each season just continues to not necessarily grow, because we've had some great drivers for a long time, but tonight we've just crowned a new champion, and hopefully we'll see Ewan back again for another season shortly.
Yeah, well, he's racing the Formula Fords, and yeah, I just said that to him in the green room. I basically kind of said that. I was like, mate, you know, Ozicar doesn't get heaps of people, but if you can come in and just win straight away, you know, like, you're a proper serious steerer. And yeah, and the track list, James said that's kind of what keeps bringing him back. He said he thinks every season, oh, I'll give it a rest, and then he decides, oh no, yeah, here's $20, I'll be back again. So yeah, no, it's been good like that, and it's been a good bunch. And I think we're seeing some growth now with the Formula Ford. A few other drivers have come in, and some of them might move on with other cars, but I guarantee you some of them will stay around. And it's a real good bunch, like especially at the front. Like, man, good luck. That's all I can say. There's a lot of fast guys.
Yeah, well, your mantra of since day dot when Ozicar first was created was based around quality driving, clean driving, great track selection, and of course consistency there for those that are turning up week in, week out. And as long as we've been broadcasting, there hasn't been a bad Ozicar championship that we've come across. So each season you tend to set the bar a little bit higher, and of course you rise to that challenge, and tonight has been no exception.
Yeah, oh, thanks for that, man. Very kind words. A lot more work goes into it than what people think, and we won't bother people with that now. But yeah, I appreciate that. It's something that's thought out carefully, and a lot of talking goes on behind the scenes and stuff. And you know, I can honestly say next year there's a lot of big stuff cooking in sim racing, and I think it's only going to get better.
So if we do have any viewers out there that are watching tonight on Simspeed TV, how can they get involved with Ozicar?
Best place to go is ozicar.net. That's the website, and there's links there to the Discord and info about all the racing and all that kind of stuff.
All right, so if there's anyone out there that sparks your interest, you're in for some quality racing on basically on a fortnightly basis, but good, consistent on-track action. Get involved, get in the Ozicar website, get in contact with Ira, and we'll be great to see some new drivers on track.
Yeah, thanks again, everyone. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
So that is the brains behind Ozicar, and the really the heart and soul that has been able to bring you some spectacular racing over the last few weeks. And Dave just about wraps up another fantastic season here on Simspeed TV.
Yeah, absolutely. Puts a bow on Ozicar Formula 4 Series Season 2, and like Ira says, maybe it'll be back, but in the meantime, lots of other great Aussie car racing to be had. Bake it till you make it. Congratulations to our season champion, Ewan Baker. That'll be all from us at Simspeed TV. Catch us next Monday night for Formula Ford.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.